My fellow travelers, you're back in the LZ. So good to see you. Here we are within 1 month before E3 fires back up. And I wanted to talk today about the possibility of Hello Games and No Man's Sky being at E3 again this year. All signs point to yes, but who knows? Of course, this video was full of speculation, so if you're allergic to that kind of thing, pop your whatever pills and let's get started. A few points of interest that I'll make in this video today are, of course, the signs that No Man's Sky and, of course, Hello Games showing up at E3 and why that's important. Stay to the end of the video while I make my points and sort of use some base logic of what I know about the industry E3, having been an attendee before. If you haven't seen that before, I do have a documentary that I filmed while I was at E3 in 2017. Please do check that out. It's super good stuff. And if you get nothing else out of it, you get to see Angry Joe have himself a nice meltdown at the Bethesda conference that year. I thought that was a great time. Ladies and gentlemen, it is going to heat up this summer, and I'm not talking about the temperature, but this year's E3 is going to be lit whether No Man's Sky is there or not. But not only do I think they should be there, I think they could be there. So of course, for my reasoning, sit back, loosen up in that suit and tie a little bit, and hear me out. Before we get going into the material, do you know that earlier I asked for your tweets about No Man's Sky showing up at E3. I asked, did you think they would be at E3? And of course, what was your most memorable moment about No Man's Sky at E3s of days of yore? I will feature those tweets throughout the video starting now. But for those of you that didn't see that tweet, I'd like to see your comments below. Do you think No Man's Sky will be at E3 this year? And tell me about your favorite No Man's Sky memory at E3. My favorite, obviously, is of course when we thought that No Man's Sky might have been canceled after the flood, and then they show up at the Sony press conference out of nowhere. Literal man tears from this guy. And if you like the content here in LZ, something new that you will see just below the video here, there's a join button now for those of you who love the content here in the LZ so much that you'd like to support it going forward, month by month. $4.99, that certainly helps the LZ, and that helps me pay the bills around here. So let's get to it. No Man's Sky Beyond is fastly approaching. No matter how we spin this, we're already in the end game. We know that. One of my previous videos before talked about Hello Games asking for our save files to sort of test our save files against the feature completed, or at least the presumably feature completed update. We already know about 2 of the 3 parts that are already announced. Regardless of if the information in this video comes to really anything or not, Beyond is right around the corner. Super hyped about that. But I do want to go over some of the signs that I think No Man's Sky could be at E3 this year, going by what I know about the industry. So far, Sony is not going to be at E3, not even close to the capacity that they used to be. But Microsoft will be there in a big way. A new console generation is on the way, and with Sony sitting out this E3, Microsoft has the show all to themselves, basically. With exception of Nintendo. Nintendo has the Nintendo Switch, of course. They don't typically have stage shows, but they do have the Nintendo Switch. They do have Nintendo E3 Direct, and there is a rumored new console coming for the Nintendo Switch as well. Just saying. I do want to talk about No Man's Sky on the Nintendo Switch in a future video, but we're going to keep this focused on the Microsoft presser particularly. Last time Hello Games asked us for save files, the next update release was literally right around the corner, less than a month after the request came down for those save files. E3 is also less than a month away. To me, and of course, I'm not some industry smart person, but I think I know kind of what this means, that if they're testing save files against Beyond Update, that's what's telling me that it's feature complete and it's basically ready to go, and they're bug crunching from here on out until we see the update. And of course, we don't know exactly what the scope and the scale of this update is. It could be bigger than any of the updates they've had combined for all we know. I mean, they are giving us No Man's Sky Online, which in and of itself could be super huge, but VR is being implemented into the game, and that's an undertaking in and of itself right there. So you might be asking, if Sony is not going to be at the E3 conference, why does that matter that that Microsoft is going to be at the show in a big way? Hello Games aren't necessarily at the mercy of Sony anymore. It took a whole 2 years for Hello Games to even put the game out on the Xbox platform to begin with. Not only that, but Hello Games are also also partnered with 505 Games for publishing, and of course Sony wouldn't have worked on publishing the game No Man's Sky on Xbox platform, a competitive platform. That just doesn't seem realistic to me. But Microsoft towards the beginning of the generation caught a lot of hot water because they weren't so indie friendly. They had weird indie contracts and clauses that they had to be exclusive to the platform for so long, and just the overall perception of indies on the Xbox One after that whole sinking ship was pulled back from the bottom of the ocean by Sir Phil Spencer himself, Mr. Stepdad Phil. Indies have been on the rise since then, while they got rid of sort of the weird implementations of strange policies that they had barring indies from being on other platforms if they wanted to be on the Xbox One platform. Microsoft, to be factual, is desperately in need of wide indie support through ID at Xbox, and they make a great point of showcasing their indies at any of their press conferences and live shows and streams and things like that. No Man's Sky Next itself was announced by Sean Murray personally on an Xbox live stream, at least officially that is. So it's needless to say that Xbox is doing a whole lot working with indies and getting a better image and a better portfolio of indie titles and partnerships, Hello Games being just another one of those partnerships. Another thing that could guide No Man's Sky to the Xbox stage at E3 is 505 Games themselves. Their partnership with Microsoft and Xbox certainly helps to publish really a lot of indie titles. 505 Games themselves are super cool, and I didn't really pay too much attention to them until before the Xbox release of No Man's Sky, but they're really actually a super cool company. 505 Games and their partnership with Hello Games could really put them on the stage at E3, particularly on the Xbox stage. So if we wrap all of this up in a tight little bow, an E3 showing would put No Man's Sky Beyond comfortably within that sort of finger quotes summer release time frame. So why is all of this important? Beyond is a sizable update that they've put quite a lot of time in putting together. What are we at now? 8 months since Next? Who knows how much of this they've actually been working on even before Next released, especially VR content. VR doesn't look like some tacked on thing that they just did. It's literally the whole game, and they've done a whole lot of catering to even special details like fully modeled interiors and stuff. Is somebody who doesn't really pay attention to VR and somebody who's really not interested in, I'm kind of attracted in that idea just because the immersion that it looks like they put into this is it's deep, and I'm kind of proud of Hello Games for doing that and not just doing some tacked on thing. It's no secret that Xbox has another console on the way, and even more so, there's a very, very high chance that we could be seeing that new console here at E3 in just under a month. Now, of course, Microsoft does not have a VR offering that Sony or the PC platform does. It could be maybe they just weren't interested, or maybe the Xbox One certainly wasn't powerful enough. They were going to partner with Oculus for a little bit there, and that sort of just fell through because, let's be honest, as much as I love my PlayStation, as much as I would love for the underdog that is Xbox to come out swinging, the Xbox One is just not that powerful of a console. It just doesn't have the horsepower to facilitate VR. And to be fair, the PlayStation 4 barely has it too. But if Microsoft has VR to show off at their new hardware coming up in E3 that's super rumored, No Man's Sky is the killer app to show VR to the industry and to the entire millions of eyes that are going to be on them in E3 this year. Since Microsoft are going to be the show to pay attention to in LA this year while Sony sits on the sidelines, Microsoft is going to have all of that sort of industry currency in one place. They are going to be the talk of the show, so they have to get this right. Now, admittedly, for somebody who hasn't paid a ton of attention to VR games, it's just really not my bag. I get enough headaches as it is. Objectively, a game like No Man's Sky is what VR is made for. It isn't just this little tiny half-assed effort of a game. It is the VR offering that people are looking for, and Microsoft can capitalize on that. This show could be Sean Murray's chance to show No Man's Sky online proper as well, to an industry that craves online play and maybe even cross-platform play that arguably Microsoft pioneered this generation, while their main competitor Sony and the PlayStation 4 just didn't want to do it, and Microsoft, let's be honest, dragged them into that. So at the very least, we could see Microsoft's Xbox and the PC have cross-platform play with No Man's Sky as part of Beyond, and it is super realistic. And according to a lot of developers that actually want to do it, it's super easy to do. Guys, I am super hyped for Beyond. I am super hyped for E3. It is my favorite time of year. I actually take every year that week off. If I'm not at the show, I'm off watching. I'm literally off watching the streams live. It's not going to be as big in E3 this year because we're transitioning to a new generation of consoles that we'll probably see launch in late 2020, but I'm super hyped for that. Guys, it's great having you here. Do comment down below. Do you think No Man's Sky will be at E3 this year? Tell me about what you think about next-gen consoles, E3, the new Xbox coming up. And folks, if this experience has grown your No Man's Sky viewing portfolio, and that wasn't the right word, portfolio, you know what I mean, and you enjoy your time here in the LZ, please subscribe, click the bell, etc., etc., and do consider joining the LZ if this is a place that you like to hang out on a regular basis. It would certainly help me out a lot. I do appreciate you all, everybody. See you soon.